Strategic convergence to strategic complementarity marks a massive shift in how the United States and India are doing business, and it is a pivot that redefines one of the 21st century's most critical bilateral relationships. For a long time, the driving force behind Washington and New Delhi getting closer was simple: Beijing. China's rapid rise and its increasing assertiveness in the Indo-Pacific pushed India and the US together. That was strategic convergence, a shared geopolitical problem. But the dynamic is changing. The relationship is moving towards strategic complementarity, meaning the US expects its partners to offer tangible economic and industrial value, not just shared concerns about a rising power.
That shift fundamentally alters the nature of the partnership. If we look back at the earlier phase, the convergence era, the cooperation was largely reactive. It was about expansion of defense ties, signing foundational agreements, and strengthening platforms like the Quad. The logic was that a strong India is in America's interest simply to balance China. But foreign policy analysts are noting a transition. Washington's focus is narrowing toward capability-based partnerships. The expectation is reciprocity. It is no longer enough to be a geopolitical counterweight. A partner needs to bring advanced technology, defense manufacturing capabilities, and supply chain resilience to the table.
This makes me wonder how India adapts to a model where it has to prove its utility differently. If the US is demanding industrial cooperation and resilient supply chains, India can't just rely on its geography or its status as a democracy. It has to actually deliver on economic and technological fronts.
Exactly. And that brings us to the core issue of strategic autonomy. For India, maintaining independent decision making based on national interest has always been paramount. To thrive in an era of strategic complementarity without becoming overly dependent on the US, India has to build a formidable internal foundation. That means investing heavily in a resilient economy and prioritizing innovation in advanced technologies. The push for self-reliance in defense, often framed under initiatives like Atmanirbhar Bharat, is not just domestic politics. It is a vital foreign policy tool. A country cannot exercise strategic autonomy if it is completely reliant on external powers for its military hardware or critical technologies.
But isn't there a tension there? India wants to modernize its defense and tech sectors, and to do that quickly, it needs US cooperation. At the same time, it wants to maintain strategic autonomy and multi alignment, meaning it wants the freedom to engage with the European Union, Japan, ASEAN, the global South, and even Russia without Washington dictating terms.
There is absolutely a tension, and it manifests in several distinct challenges. Trade disputes and tariffs remain a sticking point. Technology restrictions from the US can hinder India's development goals. Furthermore, the overarching US China rivalry creates immense pressure. Washington might demand alignment on certain issues that constrain India's flexible realism. Balancing relations with multiple major powers while integrating deeply with US supply chains requires diplomatic acrobatics. India's strategy has to be ensuring that its own capabilities, economic strength, technological prowess, and military readiness are robust enough that it is viewed as an indispensable partner, thereby securing the leverage needed to resist undue pressure and preserve its independent foreign policy in a multipolar world.
Ultimately, the evolution from convergence to complementarity suggests that India's long term relevance on the global stage won't be defined by who its adversaries are, but by what it can build and contribute. The foundation of a strong India US partnership, ironically, is a more self reliant and capable India. If you found this analysis insightful, please consider sharing this episode with someone who follows global affairs.